All right. Well, I hope you all had a good weekend and a safe weekend and got to enjoy it a little bit. Just a reminder, tomorrow is a online learning, virtual learning day for everyone. So if you're in the Tuesday group where you're supposed to come on Tuesday, you will not be coming this week. So it will be an asynchronous online day. So there'll be work posted for you, at least for my class. I don't know if other teachers, they may Zoom like normal, but I will have work posted for you. I will be available if you need help because I will be here at work working. So I will be available if you need help, but I'll be posting a video and work instead of doing a live Zoom. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Y'all have any questions in here about that? No? Okay. All right, today we're going to go over some of your animal husbandry notes that you took last week. So if you'll go ahead and get those out. All right, so we're going to talk about animal husbandry. Pretty much just how to care for animals. That's pretty much what animal husbandry is. And so there's some specific things that you need to know about how to care for animals. Common causes for human injury is human error. So just anything that humans do that maybe they just have poor judgment, they work when they're tired, so it makes them not focus as much, they don't pay attention, and so they get hurt. Improper training can also lead to a lot of farm accidents or animal accidents. Failure to use the personal protective equipment that you're supposed to use, so PPE. Injuries occur from slippery floors, dusty conditions, etc. when individuals do not use the correct PPE. And then environmental factors such as poor ventilation. You want to make sure you have really good ventilation for your animals and for yourself to be safe. Chemical safety, you always have to be very protective when you're using chemicals. There are some chemicals that you actually can't use without either being trained or getting like a certificate to be able to use it. So you need to be trained on it. You need to store it safely to make sure that children can't get it, or that if there was a fire, make sure it's in a fire safe cabinet, things like that that could affect it. Personal protective equipment must be used and properly cleaned after you have contact with those chemicals. For animal handling, these are some things that you need to think about. The facilities, what type of facilities is going to be safest? You should provide a safe environment for your workers and animals. So you need safe footing, adequate space to maneuver the animals, properly working equipment, and adequate lighting to make sure that you can see everything. So for animal behavior, the first thing we talk about is their vision. They have a wider range of vision, like on the side of their head, their peripheral vision, because their eyes are located on the sides of their head. But they have a limited depth perception. So depth perception being how far they can see in front of them. Their animal vision causes them to react to movement, and small objects or movements can distract them and cause them to react as well. As you know, anytime you walk up to any type of livestock animal, once they see you, they probably start moving the other way. And if you're walking from behind them, they might not see you until you get to a certain point, and then you might spook them and they might kick you or do something else that's aggressive because you've snuck up on them. So for a cow, this is their field of vision. So they have blind spots directly behind them, and then a blind spot directly in front of them to a certain extent, a certain feet in front of them. And then their field of vision ranges to their sides, and so they can see peripherally around them a lot, but not directly behind them. So you never want to be in those blind spots, especially if it's an angry animal, or if you spook them where they could hurt you. Noise, animals react negatively to loud noises and high-pitched sounds. Excessive noise is going to confuse the animal, and animals also remember negative experiences. If you think about your own behavior, your own experiences as a human, maybe you had a negative experience with a certain food, or maybe a certain place that you ate at, you got food poisoning. Or maybe it's just a negative experience with, a certain time in your life, or a certain person. Whatever that negative experience is, you probably are going to remember that and remember all the things about it, how you felt, you remember the noise, the environment that you were in, things like that. And so animals are the same way. They're going to remember those negative experiences as well. For example, my dog, my miniature Dachshund, we had only had her maybe like 6 months. So she was maybe like 8 months old at this point. And we had gone to a friend's house at the river to have vacation with them. And she was running around. And we didn't know that they had rat poisoning out. And she had gotten under something and gotten the rat poison. And she was chewing on it. And we didn't realize it for a minute. And we looked over and saw that she was chewing on it. And so, of course, I freaked out. And, I was worried because she was so small and she had already eaten so much of it that, even a little bit could have killed her. And so we actually had to pour water down her throat, stick our hands in her throat to try to make her throw up. We were told to give her an egg, that like a raw egg would help make her throw up. And so we were doing all these things. It was awful. She, like, it was just really bad for her. You know, she was just, obviously it was not fun to try to make her throw up. But we did finally get her to throw up and think we got all of it out of her, which obviously we did a pretty good job because she did survive and was fine. But that was a very negative experience for her. And so now anytime anything that has to do with water, she is not a fan of, because she did not like that first experience where, you know, we had to pour water down her throat. It was all over her face and all her fur, and it just was not a good experience. So she doesn't like the rain. She doesn't like a bath, anything like that with water. She is not a fan of. So they're going to remember those negative experiences just like we would, or, you know, anybody else would. Companion livestock animals, they typically don't attack humans unless they are provoked. They tend to show aggression when they're cornered and cannot escape. This concept is considered fight or flight. So animals will show aggression when they are protecting their young as well. We had a pig here last year that when she had babies, she was always very aggressive. She didn't like for you to be around them. She was very mean towards you, and you just kind of knew not to mess with her piglets. And so that is a time that they will also show aggression, is when they are protecting their young. All right, some things that you might need if you're going to have a farm, if you're going to handle animals, some recommendations. So this is a head gate and squeeze chute. It's for livestock, and it's designed to kind of help. This specific one kind of helps you lead them in through here at the back and get their head in here, and you close the squeeze chute. And this helps keep them in place if you need to give them shots, if you need to clip them, whatever it is you might need to do. It just helps keep them steady and still. And so it causes them less stress because they're able to not move, and they don't have to see what's going on, so they're not quite as stressed. Halters are used to restrain cattle, sheep, horses, and goats, especially if you're trying to walk them or get them used to a halter, lead them around. You have to kind of do that at an early age to get them used to it so that they'll be able to be halter trained. Muzzles can be used to restrain animals. Usually it's more for companion animals such as dogs and cats. The flight zone of cattle, so that's the emergency or imaginary circle that surrounds an animal or a herd. When humans enter this flight zone, animals react and attempt to move away. Understanding the flight zone helps handlers efficiently move their livestock. So making sure you understand where you can move, that the animal is still going to move away, or where you can move so that they're not going to move away, is going to be very beneficial. So this is kind of their flight zone. So we look at the handler. If this is where the handler is, if the handler's walking around here, this is going to be their flight zone boundaries. And so making sure you know where that's at when you're handling animals. Awareness of animal behavior, so you need to know what to look for to indicate that the animal is suspicious, scared, or maybe that they're getting ready to attack. So some things to look for are the head raised, wide eyes, flaring nostrils, tense muscles, and their ear position. If the ears are straight up, you know that maybe they've noticed something, they're suspicious, they're scared. So you know to just kind of make sure you're watching them, making sure that they don't attack you. Livestock are not as accustomed to human contact compared to companion animals like dogs and cats. So you need to attempt to make human contact a positive experience for them. Also to make sure that you're having that human contact as much as possible. Avoid any yelling, waving arms, or other loud noises. Animals are going to remember that positive and negative experiences, so acclimate them through routinely checking them and handling the animals. Making sure you're going through and touching them, handling them, especially when they're young. Oops. All right, some things to do for preventative maintenance, some things to make sure that you're doing. Make sure you keep records of your animals. You want to keep records of who the parents are for certain animals. If you're breeding, you want to keep records of when you dewormed them, when you vaccinated them. Just making sure that you have records of their weight, things like that, so that if something were to happen, you would have the paperwork to know, why it happened, or to give references to the vet about how much it weighed at a certain point. Or maybe you decide to sell that animal and they're going to want all of those records to be transferred with that animal. Feeding practices, make sure you have adequate nutrition and you're meeting the need of the animal. Vaccination, making sure you're vaccinating them to make sure that they have a preventative for diseases. So this is an example of like a record keeping book of things that you would keep about your animal. Parasite control, follow the recommendations and protocol for controlling internal and external parasites. Animal observation, routinely check the animals, be familiar with them, their typical behavior, and vital signs. Make sure that you isolate new animals for a certain point, a certain time period, because if a new animal comes in and they already have a disease, they're going to give it to your whole flock or herd. So you want to make sure that you isolate them to begin with. Detect any visual signs that might indicate disease or sickness, such as lethargic or tired behavior, isolation from the group if they're off by themselves, and open wounds. Sanitation, maintain clean facilities and sanitize according to recommendations. Biosecurity, protection from biological harm from living things, including diseases, parasites, and bioterrorism. This can be accomplished by limiting the number of people who visit the farm. So if we have people from a different farm, let's say a farm in Ohio that has pigs, and they come onto our farm, well, if they wore the same shoes that they are currently wearing on their farm, maybe their farm had some diseases or something like that, that it was carrying at their farm, and they brought it to our farm and infected our herd. And so you want to make sure you're limiting the number of people, and also make sure that you're doing all the sanitation and preventative maintenance that you can so that you don't get those diseases. Disinfect any equipment, including your footwear, that's brought onto the farm from another location. Sanitize and disinfect facilities, equipment. Keep adequate distance from one farm facility to the next, even if it's owned by the same company. Veterinarian, make sure you consult with a veterinarian to establish a viable animal health program. Make sure you have a vet that's coming out to check them maybe once a year, twice a year, just to make sure that they're good, and to keep them on a vaccination schedule. Any questions on animal husbandry? Taking care of the animals so far, about what we've gone over. All right, well, let's look at your assignments for today. So if you hadn't completed your notes from last week, I'll just click that. So the animal husbandry notes, if you have not completed those, make sure that you get those done. Then this week we're on week 12. So you have a beef cattle handling assignment. So when you click it, it should bring up a Google form. And so you can click this link and it will bring up the video if for some reason it's not working down here. And then you just have a few questions to answer about the video. Please make sure you put your name so that I know whose assignment it is. All right, and then you have a crossword. So you'll pull this up, go through, remember you'll type in whatever the word is. If it's red, you got it wrong. If it's green, you got it right. Once you're done, you will screenshot it, take a screenshot of it, make sure you get all of it in there, and then you will submit it on your Canvas. Any questions on that, on your assignments?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, let me get attendance done. Corbin, Sanaya, Taquandre, Callie,
Here.
Sarah's here, Jalen,
Here.
thank you. Kayla is here. Autumn Fairbanks.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Logan Foy.
Here.
Thank you. Ted.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Hal. Anaya.
Here.
Thank you. Edwin. Braden is here. John. Jaden.
Here.
Josiah.
Here.
Okay. David.
Here.
Thank you. Shakira. Kelsey.
Here.
Wilson is here. And Autumn Whaley.
Here.
All right. All right, if you do not have any questions, you're free to go. And I will see you not tomorrow or Wednesday, so Thursday. Have a great day.
Miss Tart, I want to